Hey guys, good morning. I hope you're all safe and healthy. Only one video for today. This is going to be a review of corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, and alternate exterior angles. If you're looking for a review on how to tell which type of angles you have, just look up above this video and you'll see all the definitions are there and they're marked off. But one thing I wanted to point out, and the reason I kept it in the screen, it's kind of nice whenever we're working with corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, or alternate exterior angles, because pairs of corresponding angles are congruent, which means they're equal. Pairs of alternate interior angles are congruent, which means they're equal. And pairs of alternate exterior angles are congruent, which means they're equal. So really what we're looking for here is identifying the relationship first, because then solving each question is going to be the same for each of them. So to get it started with number one, I see we have these two angles that are marked. Both angles are inside the parallel lines and they're on opposite sides of that transversal line. So remember, opposite sides of the transversal means alternate, and if they're inside the parallel lines, that means interior. So the relationship between these two angles would be alternate interior angles, and we know alternate interior angles are congruent, which means they're equal. So I'm going to set up 5x minus 28 equals 3x plus 12. Just so you don't feel like you're going crazy, these three example questions are questions that you've seen already. I'm just going through them to make sure we're on the same page about how to solve. Now we're just solving an equation with variables on both sides. So I'm going to add 28 to both sides, and we would have 5x is equal to 3x plus 40. Then I'm going to subtract 3x. And I'm going to rewrite the equation over here. We'd wind up with 2x is equal to 40. When we divide both sides by 2, we would find that x is equal to 20. For this one, we also have to find the measure of each angle. Remember that alternate interior angles are congruent. So they're equal. That means we can either substitute into this angle on the top side, 5 times 20 minus 28, or the angle down here, 3 times 20 plus 12. Either angle that you substitute into should give you an angle measure of 72 degrees in this case. Now we're going to focus on number two. So again, I'm going to mark off the angles that we have. And I notice that these angles are on opposite sides of the transversal line. So I know it's going to be one of the alternate relationships. Alternate, and these angles are outside the parallel lines. That's what tells us they are alternate exterior angles. And we know that alternate exterior angles are congruent, which means they're equal. So I'm going to set up an equation. 26x minus 41 is equal to negative 1 plus 18x. And now, just like before, we're working on solving the equation with variables on both sides. I'm going to start by adding 41 to both sides. So the equation should become 26x is equal to 40 plus 18x. Then we need to subtract 18x from both sides. I think I'm going to be able to fit this one. Now our equation should be 8x is equal to 40. Maybe I'm not going to be able to fit it. Once we have 8x is equal to 40, we need to divide both sides by 8. So I'm just going to see if I've got room to rewrite it up here. 8x is equal to 40. Divide out 8 on both sides, and we should find a solution that x is equal to 5 for this model. Remember, alternate exterior angles are congruent, which means they're equal. So I could substitute into either angle. I could do 26 times 5 minus 41, or I could write -1 plus 18 times 5. If we solved correctly, the answers for the angle measure should be the same, and in this case, you'd find an angle measure of 89 degrees. The last one over here for number 3. Now I see that these angles that were given are on the same side of the transversal line. So if they're on the same side of the transversal and they're occupying the same relative position, remember that means we could slide one angle along the transversal and it will directly overlap with the other one. That tells us that these are corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are also equal. That means they're congruent. So I can set these expressions equal to each other and say 2x plus 44 equals 8x minus 220. And I want to move that up to make sure that I actually leave enough room this time. So now when we solve this equation, hopefully this part is a little bit of review. I'm going to start by subtracting 2x from both sides here, and our equation, there we go, sorry, becomes 44 is equal to 6x minus 220. Now I have to add 220 to both sides. And the equation should become 264 is equal to 6x. When we divide out 6 from both sides, I want to check this one in a calculator. 264 divided by 6 gives us that 44 is equal to x. And now to find the measure of each of those angles, remember you could use either one because corresponding angles are equal. So we could say 2 times 44 plus 44, or 8 times 44 minus 220, and just checking the measure of the angle, we should find using either expression that it's 132 degrees.